Right here on WCNC Plus, you're streaming live and new this morning. A Winthrop poll just released about 2 hours ago reveals a sharp divide among South Carolinians when it comes to President Trump's job performance. According to the poll, 44% approve, 43% disapprove. And when it comes to hot button issues, a whopping 71% support stricter laws around transgender rights, including bathroom use and athletic competition. The poll also shows South Carolinians deeply divided on the future of Confederate monuments, with nearly a third wanting to keep monuments just the way they are, and whether the U.S. should be declared a Christian nation.
These fresh findings are set to fuel new fights.
Here to talk about it all with us, Scott Huffmon, political science professor at Winthrop University. Professor, thanks for waking up with us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, first up, want to go over the president's approval ratings we just mentioned. It seems about evenly split. 44 feeling positive, 43 not so much. Considering how heavily the state went for Donald Trump, do those numbers surprise you at all?
No, not really. If you take into account those who are not sure, who have no opinion, his approval rating is pushing 50% in the state. So it's overall 44%, but if you only include those who have an opinion, it's a little over 49%. So that makes sense. Now, among Republicans, obviously he's soaring sky high. Among Democrats, there's virtually no support for him whatsoever. Again, that points to a divided state, just like we have a divided nation. When the latest Pew poll came out, if you exclude those who have no opinion, he was at 40. So excluding those who have no opinion, he's about 9 points higher here in South Carolina.
As you said, it seems the country is very much divided. Part of your commentary with this poll is that it depends on which side holds the power, right? You feel positive if your side is in control, the opposite if it's not. It seems that, again, neither party trusts the other, with 81% of Republicans saying that Democrats are just too extreme, 82% of Democrats saying that about Republicans. Any surprises there at all to you?
No, I've been asking this question for the past several polls, including polls of the entire South. And what we're seeing is amazing polarization. So neither side trusts the other side to govern ethically and honestly, and both sides think the other side is too extreme. Now, if you add those two things together, it almost becomes a moral imperative to keep the other side from holding power. Additionally, we ask, are they good at getting their way? And here in South Carolina, we have a super majority of Republicans in the legislature. The governor is a Republican. And yet a significant number of Republicans said, hey, the Democratic Party is good at getting its way. So they feel even if the other party is out of power, they're still a threat. And that would go both ways. So we are seeing massive amounts of polarization, and for the first time in a few decades, we're actually also seeing that reflected in Congress. 40 years ago, the Senate especially, but the House, our leaders weren't that very far apart, the public a little more so, but now we're seeing massive polarization, and that's not a good sign when it comes to getting things done.
Yeah, that lack of trust is
right.
Poisonous for our political discourse and trying to get anything done. Some of the strongest opinions in this poll came around transgender issues, and I thought this was interesting because a big number, 71% favor or strongly favor laws or policies that require transgender athletes to compete on teams that match the sex they were assigned at birth. What's interesting to me is, though, also 62% strongly favor laws or policies that protect transgender individuals from discrimination when it comes to jobs, housing, and in public spaces like, say, restaurants or stores. Did that surprise you?
That surprised me a little bit. It makes sense. People in America think that others deserve basic rights. So no job discrimination, again, no discrimination in housing. So a majority of everybody and a strong plurality of Republicans, massive majority of Democrats, do not want overt discrimination. They do not want segregation for transgender folks. But when it comes to anything else, anything regarding health care, anything regarding playing on the team of the gender at your birth, especially using the bathroom of, your gender at birth. The public is just not in favor of those things. So we do see strong opinions against the movements of trans folks, but we do not see a desire for overt discrimination. I will note that it's significantly less than 1% of the population, roughly about 0.6% of the population who are transgender. So it's a fraction of a fraction, and this issue is definitely being used as a wedge issue that's far more ideological than it is a policy issue that affects everyday lives.
Think you said it best with just a fraction of a fraction. So much emphasis on it, and we're talking about such a small population. Let's talk about something else. DEI. Of course, there's been a lot of talk about this. The president is nearing his 100th day in office coming up tomorrow. One of the orders talking about DEI and the threat of possibly withholding federal funding for those institutions and organizations that continue with DEI. But in this poll, 39% are expressing some positive feelings toward DEI programs, 29% negative. Any surprises with that? 23% saying they're neutral, so no real strong opinion.
That was a little bit of a surprise until I realized about my own poll. This is the general population. These are not the most passionate partisans. It's not registered voters only. It's certainly not likely voters for any election that's going to be more than a year away. The general population, which includes moderates, a large number of African Americans, have no problem with DEI. Again, it's not a majority, but 10 more points. However, Republicans are strongly against it. So this is the president playing directly to his base, the people that got him elected. And we're seeing the same things in laws being passed in states. Here in South Carolina, anti-DE laws are being passed. They have passed the House. They're being pushed in the Senate. And that has a lot to do with gerrymandering. These legislators have to please the furthest right or the furthest left of their party, because those are the only voters who matter. A majority of both houses in South Carolina legislature did not have an opponent in the last election due to gerrymandering. So this is about conservatives playing to their base far more than it is about the general population.
Finally, a question that pollsters often like to ask is, it gives you a general sense of where we stand and the sentiment across the country. Are we on the right track? 47% think things in the nation are on the wrong track. Explain.
And again, we're seeing people finally begin to feel the effects of tariffs. The news media and, talking heads, I suppose like myself, have been talking about tariffs and what they're going to do for a while. But it's only now that the general public is beginning to feel it. You see when you buy something online, not Amazon, but online from other retailers, it flat out says the prices are higher due to tariffs. People are beginning to feel that. They feel that there's a lot of divisiveness going on in the country. So a plurality of people say we're headed in the wrong direction. That said, almost 70% of Republicans say we're on the right track. And that's because Donald Trump is doing what he said he was going to do with regard to those social culture warrior issues. Most people don't get in the weeds about the policies and trade in the election. It's about my identity and who supports people like me. And the Republicans feel Donald Trump is doing exactly that.
Scott Huffmon, professor at Winthrop. The poll came out 6 a.m. this morning. We have you here on WCNC Plus at 8 a.m. We appreciate the quick turnaround.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Y'all were the first to hear about it.
There you go. We like to hear that.
Thank you so much.
All right, Professor, thanks as always. Talk soon.